Ether saying, I know all the truth, you listen to me now, you are so privileged and everything. So he said that, by the way, all the history books, they were written by Jesuits. So he said that. So I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. There's one book everyone I think should read it to realize how much the religion and these Jesuits impacted it. It's called Rulers of Evil by F. Taposossi. And yeah, it's really amazing book. It's basically even explains how one man called Lorenzo Ricci was pretty much responsible for American Revolution the Civil War. The Civil War. It's a really amazing story, and then it just shows you that since 1100s, pretty much Jesuits and priests and church was everywhere. They were the lawgivers. They would just overwhelming stuff. And
Ether, on that, before we get into any one particular paradigm, time frame, timeline, whatever you want to think, in terms of history, where would you say the earliest back is that you can reliably go? I've looked at a lot of the work of flamenco and stuff, and always assumed like sort of 1500s, middle of the 1500s, with this stuff in Icelandic countries where they claim 1100. But part of the stuff that Martin Leakey has been kind of showing, certainly recently, and a big shout out to Martin, amazing stuff, brother. We've got to get you on, and I've not caught up with you since the conference, and maybe this is a good way of introducing this topic, because it is something I'm particularly passionate about, is hidden and forbidden history. I just wondered how far you think you can date stuff, because like I said, with regards to Martin stuff, it's really getting to the late 1600s, 1700s, where there appears to be a level of control of reset. Maybe not history's rewritten, but certainly they had the opportunity to redefine it, and that seems to be the period, not historically as you understand from the kind of Scavenger period, the change of calendar date, sort of 1500s and that, but much later on, that the redefining of the paradigm we understand is done in the pre-Newton sort of times, but during a cataclysmic time, as Martin seems to be demonstrating, where massive upheaval seems to have occurred, not only in Europe but across the whole world. I don't know if you've got any local tales that match that.
What tales?
Local. Sorry, I was being a bit colloquial myself, man. A bit. Any kind of Lithuanian stuff that relates to that. So it's a kind of stuff that's relevant to your history. We can look, let's say, through the history books, and it's British history, it's Russian history, or whatever. I don't know, or American history, or what little they've got of it. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know if there was anything specific with regards to timelines that you.
I think it's a very difficult and broad question.
Yeah.
I can mention one thing is that in Lithuanian, I guess, mythology, it's a very common thing to mention the tree of life. So it's really
the serpent, basically the worship of the serpent traces back, at least they claim, at least 7,000 years old, and the swastika as well was found in Lithuania as well, like 7,000 years old.
You were twitching in your seat. I remember that when we were watching Martin Kenny's presentation, and that Nordic tree of life came up. You gave a nudge then, as I remember, and that was one thing that resonated with me. Not necessarily the fullness of Martin's amazing model, but seeing the tree of life stuff. Then certainly with the UK stuff, you've got kind of the Green Man as well, and those kind of more natural things. That does resonate with me. That's interesting.
And the Green Man is a Cernunnos. He's from Nordic mythology. He's the guardian of the underworld and sort of the forest tree keeper. But that's why you have CERN, because CERN is called after Cernunnos, right? And you have the gateway, basically, theoretically, people saying that they are opening dimensional doorways and stuff like that. Even scientists said, I read articles themselves, that we're opening doors and we don't know what might come in. So that's your green man right there.
I just to make a record, the green man is quite prevalent down here in the southwest of England, sort of Somerset, Devon, Cornwall way. Lots of people hang clay placards on their doors with the green man, with sort of leaves growing out of their hair. Mouth. Leaves out of their mouth, is it?
Yeah, it comes.
Yeah. As well, sorry, and as well, the green man is equivalent to Greek Pan.
Right, with the flute. A Pan Baphomet?
I don't think it's that, John. I think if you look at things like the real history we're given of the Reformation, I think if you look at a lot of the more ancient church architecture, and the reason we were told they were ripping down idolatry is, I think it's they were ripping down the remnants of the pre-Christian pagan churches, and these great cathedrals we see may not have even been Christian in the first place. Do you know what I mean? It's very hard to know any history, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? But right. I think there's great evidence to suggest that even if it wasn't Christian, there was certainly a very different type of Christianity in there. And you've obviously got things like the green man, and you get the odd one of those remaining, but I think there was a lot of phallic symbology as well. And all that's left is the odd gargoyle or two. But it goes back again how they use and rewrite history to explain why they went round and wrecked everything and hid the truth of history in the architecture and whatever's there that's visible and obvious that they have to get rid of to hide the truth.
Yeah, I mean, around here, they still sell Green Man, plaques that you in local gardening shops and stuff like that. But yeah, it's interesting stuff. You guys mentioned within your enormous vault of data that you're putting on the IRM server. You highlighted Blavatsky's work. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us? I mean, have you read Blavatsky's work, and what can you tell us about it? Because I haven't read it. It's something that's, it's like Albert Pike. It's like all these other people with their tombs that I just haven't been able to get around to read. But Blavatsky is something that sort of keeps popping up. So I'll be interested to know what your take on her is.
Well, I really got interested in her because in Isis Unveiled, whether that's first or second book, she mentioned that there's going to be a man called Jordanus Maximus, right? And now we have Jordan Maxwell around. So that's really the interesting thing. But basically, yeah, I looked into her biography, and she was really interesting woman. She was Russian. She came from quite wealthy family, but she sort of started traveling. Like she went everywhere. She went to Germany. She went to India to study all of the ancient scripts, and then she opened a Theosophical Society, and there was a lot of people involved with her. But I support the main idea of the Theosophical Society, which is there's no higher religion than truth. And, it's really interesting. The main thing what I remember about her is the secret doctrine she wrote, and even in Flat Earth Conference, the Terence Kenny was talking about the egg, and yeah, it's she was talking about mundane egg and different in different Hindu stanzas and Vedic mythologies. Everywhere emphasized the creation story, and I don't know.
She was part of, for me, when I read her stuff. She's a part with a lot of other, Victorian time fellows that are trying to incorporate a lot of the Eastern mysticism, such as the Vedic cultures, and that into Christ. And I think that's the time where you get the Aquarian Gospel of Christ discovered, which integrates the standard doctrine that the church is providing with this interwoven story with Jesus traveling through both Buddhist and Vedic India and stuff, and being a master in all those realms as well. And she's, for me, I don't know how much truth there is. Again, there's a lot of stuff around that time where you see whether people are discovering it or whatever. It's hard to know, but a movement away from the standard Christian doctrine, whether it's the beginning of trying to twist away from the authority of the church, but she's part of those writers that seems to be leaning people into a more spiritual realm and offering alternative views. And there's a lot of occultist stuff in her work as well, but that's my vibe on her. It's not expert.
She was one of those people who are just beyond her age. I mean, it takes like 50 or 100 years to sink in,
Laura, have you got any opinions on it?
Oh, that will sound crazy if I
Nothing sounds crazy on the realm, believe me. We're called the Flat Earth Friday FringeCast for a reason.
It ain't crazy, don't bring it.
So to me, I'm not really keen on things like Blavatsky because, like he said, for him, math is way too sophisticated. For me, his philosophies and those things are too sophisticated. Although I did listen to Crow 777's video when he was kind of picking apart the story, the background of Blavatsky, and saying, oh, she traveled a lot, but if you actually look at the distances and the time it took her to travel from one place to another, it overlaps, it doesn't make sense, it's not realistic, and a lot of things he mentioned that were very interesting to me. So I would recommend anyone to listen to that video if anyone wants to know.
I heard that episode as well, and it seems it could be seen both ways. It could be a construct, it could be a real person, or it could be anything. I don't know, but it just seems the name Blavatsky comes up more and more the more I dig into this rabbit hole. Yeah.
For me, it came up, this crazy thing I said I was gonna say. Since I'm very spiritual and I sometimes I decide to meditate, sometimes I have like lucid dream experiences, out of body experiences, whatever experiences. So there was one time when I was, I guess, kind of about to lucid dream or about to have a out of body experience, and then I realized, oh, I'm in this realm now that I can think of whatever I want, I can ask whatever I want to know. So I wanted to know if I have any spirit guides, who are they? I wanted to see them. So what showed up to me first was Helena Blavatsky, which I was completely shocked to see.
Oh, wow.
So first her image appeared, and then after her, faster and faster, about 5 or 6 other faces appeared that I had no clue who those people were, if they were even real.
Did you know Blavatsky before you had that dream?
Yeah, that's why I was skeptical about it. But then I knew someone who was very psychic, so I went to her when I had the chance, asked her, do you think it's just a coincidence, I made it up, it's my imagination or whatever, I just had a dream or something, or do you think there's something to it? So she tried to focus on it, and she said, yeah, I think it could be true. And if it is, it has something to do with me, helping me to learn to love, or something about love, which I think everybody in this realm, that's what we are here to do ultimately. We all come to learn to love, because imagine, I mean, it sounds easy. What's difficult about loving? But imagine loving a person who has, let's say, destroyed your career, destroyed your reputation, and, you know, left you for dead. Like a lot of people who do very valuable research end up being in this situation. So how do you forgive that person? How do you love that person?
You become Jesus.
I think
Yeah, so-
I think for a lot of people in the community, just starting to love a baller, is it's like David Cameron hug a hoodie, in it. But just to put into context what people are saying, there, Laura, right? This isn't just a dream you had. You're actually a very skilled lucid dreamer. You don't have to go into it. I just want to qualify your statement for people. This is not just an odd dream. You're quite good at this.
Can you
Yeah,
print her
usually-
a certificate? You know, a certified lucid dreamer, right?
Oh my god, I can print one myself. I have a printer.
If you're good enough, you'll show me in my dream tonight.
Is there? This might be a really odd question to Laura, but is there a reason why you middle part your hair? Like,
That is odd.
no, it's an odd question, but it was quite a trademark for Blavatsky, so I don't know.
Oh,
Ha,
I never
I'm
thought
going to
of
look
this.
now. I'm going to look. So we get a picture.
Ever,
Oh, bloody hell.
nobody has ever asked me anything even remotely like that. So
I can imagine.
That is a
But
weird
no,
question
I'm just-
even for me, John. That's a good one.
And I
I'm just
apologise now. And
I,
You just broke my mind, because I bet a young Blavatsky would be very, very similar to Miss Laura here.
Hey, I'm just looking at some pictures. That's spooky dooky. It's
As soon as you said it, I thought the same thing. I'm like, wow, that's sort of like a trip back in time. I could just see with the hair pulled back.
so someone
Yeah, I
has
actually-
to share a photo of
I'm
a
I'm
young
on it.
Blavatsky.
Give me a minute.
Actually, it kind of makes sense that I had this theory that if we do have, you know, if you believe in those spirit guides, angels, your higher self, ultimately what it is
Okay.
you.
That's scary.
It is
Okay.
you. So if Helena Blavatsky is my spirit guide, and I actually was Helena Blavatsky in a past life or something, it makes sense that my spirit guide would be me in another life.
Guys, I found a photo. That's a bit scary. Have a look.
The nose doesn't
A
look
bit
like
older
mine.
version of you.
That's you're good man. I think that's I think that one is a theatrical one, but
Is it?
yeah. Give me a second. There. Wait there. If you go back to that screen, scroll up.
I think I will have to wait until I get older.
Scroll down. Sorry.
There are some younger photos.
Yeah, but I haven't seen actually young. All I've seen is just older version of her.
This is a young one, but it's a drawing.
Yeah, it's drawing.
Anyway, I went completely perpendicular again there. Sorry.
There was one thing I wanted to say, going back to the question about history and how far back can you date history. So it is, of course, very difficult to date anything, because for me personally, I believe that there are these situations where, let's say there is a creator, he decides, I'm not happy with the creation anymore, let's start over again. And maybe we are already a seventh creation or something, which would make sense why in the Bible, if you correctly translate the beginning, it says that the earth was a waste and a desolation, and you have to create people for them to repopulate, as if indicating that it's there were people before.
Replenish.
Yeah,
and
replenish.
means do it again. So that means it's been
So
done before, and that's what Jewish rabbis were telling Jordan, and that's what he shared, and I remember that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and it would explain why we keep finding these out of place artifacts, or I don't know, radiation in ancient places where they shouldn't have any advanced technology, but there are signs that they had it. So that's what I believe. That's why I think it's so difficult to date anything. It's because it wasn't really that linear.
I think part of the deception is to take what is linear and replace it somewhere else, or at least repeat it as well.
Are you
so
guys subscribers to Martin Leakey with the history black hole? Do you know?
I actually
Do you
haven't-
flat Earth British?
Yeah, I know of him, but I don't know what he means by history black hole.
I mean that we've been told there's sort of 2,000 years worth of history, but we can only sort of validate 1,000 years worth of history. So there's a big sort of black hole that the Dark Ages, let's say, which is quite dark and black. But yeah, that's quite an uncanny picture. Whoever shared that?
I don't think it looks like me though. I guess
It's a
I'm
bit
the-
harsh.
that
It's a
doesn't-
bit harsh, Laura, that. I won't be too chuffed with that one.
I'm just digging
Hopefully
for
you'll be
young
happier
pictures.
in later life than she
Yeah.
looks there.
Times were hard back then.
It was a rough world, right?
But what I noticed from history books, which when I was at school, what I always, it kind of bothered me that the modern history was the text, everything, the story, the dates, everything you have to learn is so completely different to the rest of history. I thought, shouldn't it be kind of similar with, I guess, less details, less dates, but let's say you take some ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and it's completely one style. But when you go to modern things, it's all about politicians and their ideology and what they wanted to create, and it's just completely different style. And it always bothered me, like, why is it so different? It's almost like, maybe like you said, there's a black hole. It was ancient, then there's a black hole, and voila, there's the politics and all the modern stuff. It never made sense to me that something was wrong with the textbook itself.
I think that's a great summary. There is something wrong with the textbook itself.
Yeah, I agree.
That sums it
Indeed.
up perfectly, mate.
And also another thing with history books was, I remember that day in school when we were learning about, astronauts in space, the first man on the moon, and all these achievements. And I was looking at that picture, well, because I'm not very interested in that modern history, so I was always kind of daydreaming about something, and I was focusing on that picture of Neil Armstrong on the moon, looking at it, thinking, that's all the proof I personally have to believe it happened. That was way before I even heard that, it's a conspiracy theory that we landed on the moon and a lot of things are not fake. That was way before. So I didn't even have a clue or understanding or anything. I just looked at the photo thinking, all I have as proof that it happened is this text in black and white written by man, and the photo that, for all I know, could be photoshopped, made up, created, I don't know. That's all the proof I see. So how do I actually know? I just thought, how easily would it be to trick me into thinking it's real when it actually could be not real? So, and then years later, when I heard theory about actually it's a conspiracy, and we probably didn't land there, there's so many false flags, and then I thought, oh my gosh, I was onto something. Good for me.
It's a good feeling, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good feeling when you predict the future. That's really amazing. I mean, when was it? Last year, 22nd of March, 322, the attack in London, alleged attack in London. And when I looked at the date, I was working, and I was like, oh, 322, Skull and Bones, let's go. And I told the co-workers, it's like, listen, today most likely is going to be a supposed terrorist attack. And 4 hours later, on the TV, they started showing, and those two people were looking at me, how did you know? And I saw that, and I started laughing, and I was like, why are you laughing? I said, well, because this is funny, this is bullshit, I knew this is going to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, when
I
you
don't know what I
understand
wanted to say about it.
that when you understand how it works, then you know it's not a surprise, it's not a completely random event, because you already know the construct of it.
Yeah, you can predict the future. Everything, they follow the numerology, the astrology, so, and there are these sort of dates. What is it? I think it's some sort of a celebration on the 1st of May. It's some sort of a communism celebration. I'm not sure.
5th of May.
No. Not sure. But anyway, in America, I think mainly in America, when you're in trouble, what do you say? Mayday, eh?
Mayday, yeah. So what's that, Ethan? You predicted, what was it, the London bombings or something?
No, not bombing. It's alleged attack with a car when the guy ran over like 7 or so people. Then he allegedly stabbed the police officer to death.
Oh, was that outside the British Parliament or something?
Yeah.
Downing Street or something?
And for me, the same day when I came back, I just looked at it just for fun to confirm on myself it's bullshit. For me, it was enough to see the knife in the supposed crime scene. You know, the dude was stabbed to death, right? What happens usually when you cut yourself? You bleed, right? So there was no blood on the knife, no blood anywhere. I mean, okay, so I just dismissed it straight away and I left it there. But it was absolutely funny, you know. God and those two people are witnesses, like I said, on the spot. And that's pretty much, you know, when you have a lot of research, like David Icke, you know, he predicted a lot of stuff which actually happened because he studied, he traveled around the world. And, you know, if you want to know what's going to happen in the future, you have to know what's going on now. If you want to understand what's going on now, you have to study the past.
How many of us know what's going on now?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what do you make of David Icke's take on the flat Earth?
I actually did not hear his take on it.
His take on it, is it blue? Is it round? Is it a banana? Is it anything? It could be any. But I like his spiritual way, the way he looks at everything from a higher perspective. It's awakening. It's because I feel like conspiracies are so dense and sad and depressing, and you need that side of spirituality to see how that negativeness is positive. Because now that you know what the truth is, now you can do something about it. Now you can understand it. Now you can actually live, not just be a zombie that's depressed and powerless.
Well, it's the construct. That's how I philosophically look. That's why I like to study the darkness, because what is darkness? Darkness is just absence of light. If you study what is bad there, and if you represent sort of light and goodness, you shine up on it, and what darkness can do, just move away. So, and I think that's what's going to happen in the future when we hit the critical mass or whatever, and the peaceful non-compliance is going to, you know, overrule everything.
And that's another thing with that planting the seeds in. Another reason why I don't like arguing, but I like planting the seed, is because I think maybe it's offensive to say, but I think that majority of the population are this kind of gray mass people that just go from day to day thinking, I just, you know, want to live my life. I don't care about the shape of the earth. I just, you know, want to live in my small convenient world. And whatever the majority, whatever the trend is, whatever people start believing more in, then they kind of look into it and they go from one side to another. So I see them like, you don't really need to convince those, because they will kind of naturally go with what the majority says. So that's why you need to kind of just put the seed in them for them to know that this is a possibility, and the more they hear it, the more they will be ready to go with what the majority is. But the majority is the gray mass, so you actually don't need to convince that many
It's
people.
the herd mentality, isn't it? The
Yeah.
following mentality. But talking about David Icke, you said you were working with Jordan Maxwell. What are your opinions on his opinion on
Wait,
flat Earth?
before we get on Jordan Maxwell, the gray matter people, the gray mass, I'm thinking those are the NPCs that Chris and Cherie always are talking about. The people who have no actual soul. They don't. They are empty automatons. Go ahead. What? Yes, sir.
It's pretty much the whole concept as Morpheus were explaining to Neo about the agents, that anyone on the street, anyone can be an agent. And that was sort of a metaphor that even if the people is out there, but they represent the same satanic system.
I've got a slightly different take in that I think everyone has a soul, they just haven't turned it on yet. Possibly. So you might see grey people walking around like I was 10 years ago or 20 years ago, completely up my own arse into materialism, money, you name it. Not a particularly nice person, but now look at me, I'm a right miserable bastard, but
I
at
was
least
gonna say you're a fucker all the way through.
Well, you said look at you, we only can see savage. So what does that mean by definition?
you can hear me, which is more than enough to know whether I'm talking bollocks. You can hear now that I'm smiling, can't you?
I'll tell you what, it's the best mood I've heard you in for weeks.
Yeah, well, I'm in a good mood tonight. My dog's looking good.
Good, man. So glad. Oh my goodness.
But anyway, I mentioned Maxwell and what he thought about flat Earth, and you said something, Walt, and that's where I lost it. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was it. You were going towards Jordan Maxwell. I just didn't want to. I wanted to comment on those gray people. So
The grey people.
I've got one point on that as well, and
I do have another one too. Now that I'm saying it again, go ahead.
I don't think there are any such thing as grey people. I think they're just people whose lives you don't know or understand. And I think.
See, I used to think that too, but I don't know. I've encountered some emptiness that I can't explain, and it's not. See, I'm kind of along the lines of Laura. I've had a lot of experiences that aren't inside this shell. And when I'm in those realms, I see those people who are voids. They are literally empty spaces. That's all. That's the only way I can explain it.
Yeah, mate. I work with them, and sometimes you see the light reignite.
It does flare up, hopefully. So
It's there.
I think
And
everyone
maybe our job
has
is
the potential.
to help reignite that flame, not pretend that there isn't the potential for a flame there.
I actually don't think we should be looking at them as if they are lost cause or something, or we should be helping them ascend to our level. I think that we all are on different levels as souls. And let's say for me, it's very difficult to learn something that has to do with IT. It takes me a lot longer, and I'll get there. So a lot of people are like this. They just need a bit more time, and you don't need to be pushing them or convincing them and saving and helping them. I believe that eventually we will all get to that, I don't know, ascension or whatever you believe the end goal is.
I don't think that we'll all get there. I don't think so.
I'm not suggesting you go out to save people or anything. I'm just saying that you should never engage with someone assuming they're a lost cause. On any, whether it's spiritual, flat earth level or whatever, anything, you should always...
I haven't given up on anyone.
No, I think that's a strange
real.
paradigm to allow you to categorize certain people as
You're
human.
saying they are soulless, so that's why I'm saying.
Well,
that you look
yeah,
at them
I don't like
they need to ignite again.
I don't like to categorize people, but I still sort of stand by my two categories of people. There are people who are part of a problem, and there are people who are part of a solution.
But yeah, exactly. Let's face it. I mean, we all know people who we think are beyond the pale, that we cannot possibly ever turn around. And you're probably right. You're never going to turn a Wolfie whatever around, or Reds Rick, or any of these people. But
See, but that's not even the kind of thing I'm really talking about. Those kind of people who are just stubborn and going with the mentality of the status quo or following the parrot herd or whatever. See, if I start talking too deep about this stuff, y'all are going to think I'm crazy, Laura. There are things that are created, that are put into this world, that are empty shells, that are allowed to be driven by
those reptilians, as they say.
I don't know, not necessarily that. You guys know the crap David Icke talks about. It's all about reptilians, but that's not it. I think it's even deeper than that. And it's been going on for a long time. And that's why there's so many of those here. But that's maybe just my crazy ideas.
No, but I mean, well, that's not an unusual idea, and it's not one I haven't heard before. That's for sure. But what if these entities that you're talking about are drugged from pre-birth, drugged after birth, fed shit for the whole of their life, indoctrinated into an education of complete bullshit, and they're now supping down their Red Bull and smoking their Marlboros and getting as much fluoride as they can, and 15 hours a day of TV. I mean, these people would, and I agree with you.
No doubt.
I agree with you. They would appear, and they did appear to me 10 years ago, as I'd see them waddling across the street, and I'd be like, "You fat fuck, you just take some fucking pride. What the hell are you doing? Why are you smoking in front of your kids?" All the rest of it, like a complete propaganda, indoctrinated, brain dead zombie. But I thought I was on the top of the wave and moving. I was the one that was clever. And now I can see these people as and I can understand that that other people can see them as grey, literally zombies, or what is it, the apocalypse coming. And I've sort of, I don't know, not gone past it. I'm not saying I've got your hand up. Don't worry, it'll be in. But I try now, as I talk to my plants and give them love and touch them and all the rest of it. I do the same out the window of my lounge, and I'm like, "You poor bastards! You've no idea that Diet Coke you're drinking is making you fat. You have no everything in your cupboard is low fat, and it's making you fat. And this guy, this poor kid over here has ADHD, and he's taking Ritalin, and he's had all his vaccines, and he's fucked. And it's that's the reason." And I feel sorry for these people. I think humanity as a whole has been under warfare, and I'm going to shut up now because I've spoken too much. But I think we need to look around us and go, there, but for the grace of luck go I.
It did go on a bit, but I agree with it all.
I just wanted to quickly mention, getting back to the topic, I think you heard of a guy, Mark Passio, and he was sort of a like satanic priest and stuff, and he literally said in those rings, they call us the dead. So, and then, then I started slowly realizing, what are those movies about zombies and those survivors? So those Illuminati guys and whatever, well, Illuminati is basically a philosophy, at least from my point of view. But basically that they are the survivors. We are the dead, these masses, these stupid people, and they are the smart ones. They're trying to survive, and, we're sort of trying to eat them, blah, blah, blah. But yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like all these, zombies or the gray people, they are still on a spiritual level. They reflect us, and we shouldn't be focusing on them as much as focusing on ourselves. And if we change ourselves, the universe will change to reflect back. So the more we are awake, the more we will see the world and people being awake. And I know from my personal experience, at least I've seen that it's true. When I was focusing more on healthier eating, and which I don't do now, but I was really interested at some point, and to me it was mind-blowing, and I was all day just listening to all kinds of lectures about what's healthy and how to lose weight and how to cure diabetes, how to cure cancer with simply changing your diet. And I was so interested. Then I was trying to convince or help people from my family who have some health problems, and trying to say, this is so easy, just change what you're eating and it's going to cure you, and just try it. What do you have to lose? And it was impossible. So then eventually I just gave up, but I was still interested in these topics. But since something in me changed when I discovered those topics, eventually, gradually, out of the blue, I hear that my mom started eating completely different things just because her doctor said, oh, maybe you should try this diet. And she started doing this. It completely changed everything that she used to be and she used to believe, and she didn't care. And now all of a sudden she's so strict and no, I'm not eating this, I'm only eating that. Then after a while, his mom changed when everybody was convincing that, you have some problems with your health. Why don't you start doing something about it? And she was always, stop criticizing me, stop thinking about my, body and everything. Just forget about it. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, I hear that she was on lessons, on courses about healthy eating, and then she was teaching me about what's healthy, what's not healthy. So you have to start from yourself, and the world will gradually adapt to you and change around you. So in a way, you don't really need to convince people of flat earth or anything. You have to evolve yourself and see how the world changes.
Brilliant. That's amazing. That happened to me as well with my mum, who was drinking Diet Coke and then suddenly stopped after years and years of saying no. Yeah.
My mum's weren't a spiritual conversion. I said, what the bloody hell are you doing? Drinking that. It was
Well, for me, what's sort of encouraging, like I was in the shop and there was this young mom with a son, I don't know, about 6 years old or whatever, and he was reaching for a Coke or something. She said, no, have water or something, and has aspartame in it. And he was like really sort of upset or something. He said, wow. I said, I'm amazed. I said, like, you have to listen to her. She knows what she's talking about, and when you sort of support and encourage, in the young child's mind, it's like, oh, mom, she's always like, like going on me, blah, blah. But there's this guy, he said that she's right. Maybe there's something to it, So it's sort of, sometimes maybe you have to give a boost if you hear, just don't sort of be shy or whatever. Sometimes if I see some signs of someone being spiritual or whatever, I engage in conversation, although it's very rare, but yeah, it's quite interesting.
And another personal example from our lives of how you shouldn't be changing people, you should be changing yourself, and see how people around you start changing, is one of Aita's friend, I think, was when he heard that we are flat earthers, he pretty much threatened to beat him up when he comes to UK. I'll just punch that guy in the face, and horrible
because we
things
were
he was
discussing
saying.
stuff, and
Yeah, he was
anyway.
really very, he didn't take it well, even though I feel like in many ways he is very open-minded, but this is the limit, like, flat earth, I'm gonna beat you up. So then eventually it happened that he did come to UK to live with his best friend. Something went wrong, then he was in the situation when he really needed help, and even though we knew what he was like and how he hated us, we still let him stay with us for a week or something, and we pretty much, didn't criticize him or anything. We were just being ourselves, being friendly, and helping out. And he realized how these dumb flat earthers are such amazing people who had no he wasn't really our friend. We didn't have to help him at all. It wasn't our fault that he was in this situation, but we just agreed to help him out for a whole week to live with us until he found a better place to live. Then eventually, a day before he moved out, we heard that he was on Skype talking to someone saying, "Oh, I live with these dumb flat earthers." Then we were kind of furious and thinking, "Oh, it's good that he's moving out." But then after that, he started realizing how he had to appreciate us, what amazing people we are, and those, globe earthers were not such good friends to him or something. And then he was just so amazing to us. And
Tell me he's a flat earther now.
no, I wish.
No,
But
I
he
wish
is so
too.
open-minded now. Comparing to the way he was, I feel like he's so much more open-minded. You can say the craziest thing now, and he will be like, if that makes you happy, if I don't care what you believe in, I don't care how crazy it sounds. If you believe what you want, as long as it makes you happy, do what's best for you. Do what makes you happy. So there was one thing that we were chatting on Facebook, and I somehow mentioned that one of my biggest dreams is to live with Jordan Maxwell and to help him in any way I can, cooking, whatever, helping him with research, whatever it is. I just love him so much, and I feel like if I help him, I'll be helping the whole humanity. So when I said that,
has he taken you up on that at all?
he was like, I was saying, maybe we will arrange, for Jordan to come to UK, and we'll live together. It's going to be the best thing ever, no matter how crazy it will seem to everyone else. And he was like, as long as it makes you happy, live with whoever you want, do whatever you want. I'm all for it. Good for you. Follow your dreams. So it was very difficult to believe that this is a person that just not that long ago was saying, if you believe flat earth, I'll come to UK and I'll punch you in the face, I'll beat you up to come back to your senses. And now you can say that I want to live with Jordan Maxwell and cook for him and, I don't know, marry him, whatever makes him happy.
Oh, that was your friend that was saying that, was it? That was your friend that was saying that?
No, it was Aether's friend's friend, so it wasn't that close to us.
Wow.
But I guess he knew us enough to want to beat Aether up from believing in flat earth. I mean, why would you care if it's somebody that you barely know? Why would you even care what they believe in?
I think that's an interesting reaction, isn't it, Laura? That actually, at some level deep down within them, they're so enraged by what you see because it's challenging them on a subconscious level that their only gut reaction is to offer violence. It's across the internet as well with the ad hominems, the base insults, but that's probably a more extreme version. Threats of violence for being a flat earther is a bit.
There's a condition for that. Although it is a theory, again, as a gravity, it's a cognitive dissonance. That mental stress which they experience when you challenge them with the new information, they just don't know what to do. So it usually turns to anger, if not ignorance.
We're going to be
well
guys,
said.
Just spot on. The proper word evaded big cognitive dissonance. But fundamentally, to me, it manifests like a strange frustration at what you're saying to them. It's not even necessarily understandable to them why they're enraged. All the tablets are kicking in.
You were asking previously about, do we agree with what Jordan Maxwell thinks about flat earth?
That's exactly what I wanted to get onto, Laura. Before we round up, John had mentioned, and you've brought it up now, can we cover the Jordan Maxwell before we get gripe for not fully mentioning it?
Yeah, so Jordan Maxwell is not very keen on flat earth, at least last time I heard from him about this topic, because we bought like a few sessions with him at the beginning of our, I guess, relationship. So we were very interested to hear what he thinks about flat earth, and we didn't know if he will blow our minds with new information or will we be blowing his mind with the information. So it ended up that he didn't know a lot about it, but at the same time he did say that he had this theory that the Earth is a spaceship, and he believes in that. So that's the part that I agree with. But
well, he was sort of 50-50. He said that like the only concern for him is like how always the water stays leveled, you know? So yeah.
yeah, so I agree with some of the things that when he's on flat Earth side, but yeah, he's not really too keen on it. He doesn't have the passion for it. I guess he's not too interested. Even when Aether was saying, what information do you want me to download for you? Do you want something about flat Earth? And he was saying,
No.
download about Santos Bonacci, but don't do flat Earth. Don't do flat Earth. So he's not that interested in it. But I feel like he is onto the, beyond the shape. He's onto the more high philosophical ideas about the Earth being a simulation. He has a very big spiritual side to it that I really agree with.
Interestingly enough, we've had Santos on. It's a show you should go enjoy when you have time.
It was the show. We had him on a couple shows. We had him over there in the Ironworks, and we had him here on the Flat Earth Friday.
It was good.
It was
two different shows.
Two very different shows
for you.
I actually don't listen to Santos when he was talking about flat Earth. Might need to maybe look into that a bit more. For me, his most valuable research was about the syncretism and the breakdown of the Masonic Court Inquisition. So that was, for me, the most revealing stuff from him, at least. I remember one of your podcasts you were mentioned about the free man movement and these law of a land, law of a sea. I pretty much know it inside out. So if you want, at some point I can explain all to you if you're interested.
Yeah, we have some personal experiences with it.
Yeah, we can show you.
We're interested in that. Spill the beans. Tell us more. Or at least give us an intro so we can have you back to talk again.
Yeah,
should be a show of its own because it's quite
it's a big topic. But basically, in ancient Roman times, Roman realized that on this plane, as we call it, planet. Although I find it really funny because planet, it's plane with a T at the end. Anyway, so they realized that on this earth there's only water and land. So therefore, you have two different types of laws because on one piece of land somewhere in China, people on the land will have different laws than people in somewhere in America. So they established sort of a law that while you're traveling on the ship or while you're on the ship, that's why you have a maritime law. Mar is water. That's why you have mermaids and stuff like this. And so they issued sort of the whole water law is basically money and business, because you say, oh, money is goes through your hand like water. No, money is literally water because you have liquid assets, and in general you have banks to store money, right? What is a bank? A river has two banks to direct the flow of the currency. So and all of these birth certificates, because it all comes down into it. Let's just say you have a ship traveling from one country to another, and you have like 10 cars or whatever on it. So when they land to the customs, they have to know where they came from, who they belong to, and stuff like that. So they have a certificate of manifest, where how did they came about. So that's what the birth certificate is. When the mother passes her water, when she passes the product into this world, a man is a manufacturer, and the woman brings the product, and then you have a birth certificate to make sure that product is registered. So yeah, and that's how they sort of trick you into that legal fiction system when you are a corporation, because your birth certificate is being traded on New York Stock Exchange, and I think you can even find your birth certificate traded because I think you can type your I think it's an America Social Security number somewhere, and you can actually see the value of it, like flying around. And then you have
Bradstreet, I heard.
Sorry.
It was the Dun and Bradstreet website. Last I heard, you could go to the Dun and Bradstreet. I think that's DUNN, Dun and Bradstreet, and use your Social Security number and get an approximate evaluation of how many life credits you're going to use throughout your life.
Could I just add to that, guys, just for a sec? The birth certificate is actually a bit more nautical in a sense, because the term birth is with an E, not an I. And a berth is where you would moor the ship, and then you moor the ship and you unload the goods. So that's why it's a berthing certificate. That's what would be the manifest itself, would be the birth certificate.
Yeah, and the other thing is, when I was studying Oxford Dictionary of Law, it says that the birth certificate is a certified copy, right? That's in law dictionary. So you do not actually have the original. It's only certified copy. I found that quite interesting as well.
And it's owned by the Crown, which it says quite clearly, and it can never be used as identification. So when in this country, when you apply for a driving license or whatever, and they ask you for proof of identification, and they say you can use your birth certificate, then some would say you're literally breaking the law, that it is Crown copyright, and it says quite clearly on it not to be used for identification. So yeah, the birth certificate is a very interesting thing. Tell me what, mate.
My student loan with that.
Did you pay it back?
You what?
Did you pay it back? Yeah, I did too. Mug.
Wish I hadn't. It'd be gone now. It'd have been expunged.
And the other thing is that you guys are from USA. Do you have any dollar bills on you?
No, me and the guy in the football jersey are from the UK.
Yeah, I know that you are, but I think the other two guys.
Josh and Walt, yeah. Over to you.
So if you look on the...
I'm grabbing one. Hang on one second.
Too poor to pay attention.
I think
happened to ask for one, so that tells you where I'm at.
I'm not sure. Is it on $1 or any dollar bill? You basically see the serial number, and actually that serial number is someone's social security number.
I know the pyramid is on the $1 bill.
Yeah,
with the all-seeing eye.
And that pyramid actually was not on the dollar bill up to 1930s or slightly even before.
33,
because it was just
I think,
on the back. It was just, sorry?
33, I think, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Well, that's
obviously
a quite convenient number.
Josh probably knows loads about that all-seeing eye on the dollar bill. I'm sure he does.
Yeah, you know about the pentagram and the word Mason on it, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I happened to be wearing a shirt earlier today, up till about 5 minutes before we went live the first time. And on it is the top of the truncated pyramid from the back of the dollar bill, where it's got the all-seeing eye and the rays of light coming out of it. And we were almost going to go live, and I got to thinking about it, and I said, sure as shit, if I wear this, by Monday, there's going to be somebody with a video out, make stupid pictures of me wearing this t-shirt, calling me some Illuminati TF shit.
Oh, dude, we can't hear what you're saying.
No,
Your
Josh,
face
you're cutting
is
out.
breaking out.
Whoa.
Have we lost you completely?
No, I'm here. I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, the more you were talking, you just kept getting more broken up and crackled up, and
Bloody good rant as
everything.
well, wasn't it?
I
know,
wanted
right?
to hear it. Talk
Do
slowly.
it again.
all right.
Wait.
Now, don't know what works and what doesn't.
Good now.
Talking about
We can
the
hear you.
pyramid.
Or good now?
Yep.
talking about the pyramids, a while ago, my girlfriend used to make shirts, and I sort of thought of this design, and I really liked it. If you can see it,
Nice.
basically, it's separated and it's crying with the water, with the maritime law.
Fudge the system.
Yeah, we used to have a website.
Ether, hold it up again just so I can put it so it's a bit bigger. I know you just flung it old style there. That should be sharing a bit better now.
Josh, can you remember what you were saying 3 minutes ago? Because I can't, but I know it was gold.
But
It really
just
was.
give me one more second, Ether. One more second with it. I'm happy. You can't stop it.
I can send you the picture.
Brilliant.
That would probably help, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I forgot to pay. Well, I didn't pay for the hosting, so the website is shut. Maybe bring it back, but meh, don't know.
Yeah, we know how that works.
Um,
I was gonna, just real quick, what I was saying was about 5 minutes before we went live the first time, I was wearing a shirt, and on it was the top of that truncated pyramid on the back of the dollar bill with it was the actual triangle with the all-seeing eye and the rays of light coming out. And I thought, well, sure as shit, if I wear this by Monday, somebody's going to come out with a YouTube video with zoomed in on my shirt calling me some sort of Illuminati TFR shill. So I had to go change my shirt before we went live so nobody could see my all-seeing eye t-shirt.
That's given me an idea. Do you think all these people that flash up hand signals and wear weird orange t-shirts and 33s all over the place, do you think they're just doing it knowing that by Monday someone's going to pull out a video made about them and that would increase their viewings? I don't know.
Now,
Weird.
there are people that I have definitely suspected that of, or I think they may have even come right out and said it. I think he was wearing orange shirts and things like that. Mr. Math Powerland, I think, was doing that there 18 months ago, a couple of years ago, maybe. It was a while back. But yeah, he was doing that just knowing that some of these dumbasses are going to overanalyze and focus in on stupid things like his shirt rather than the content of his message.
Shocking. Or the
Much like Kyrie Irving talking about people focusing on him talking about flat Earth rather than his ability to put a ball in a hoop.
Or the non-topic of his non-relevance of his topic. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
I actually feel the same way, that if some people knew my last name, since it's Lithuanian, it's very, for people that speak in English, for them it's pretty much impossible to pronounce it. So I've had in UK a few people that tried to pronounce it, and one of them was a very lovely lady optician, and the way she pronounced it sounded very close to Illuminati, and I realized, if she says it, she said it like Rusinati, which is quite.
Hey, Laura, right? We can do Unkululeko, right? So let's have a full go at the proper Lithuanian pronunciation, and we'll all have a go. You can correct us all. So come on, give it us.
Good.
Here it goes. Rusinaite. That was quite good.
Martin Leakey.
Rusinaite. You know when you're at home and your mum's shouting you, what does she shout then?
Oh, she
doesn't
doesn't
shout.
call me by name, so it would be even more difficult for you to pronounce. But it's much closer than when Mark Sargent tried to pronounce it. He said Rusin, right? I thought that was funny.
Give us it once more. Give us it once more. Give us a loud pronunciation.
Rusinaite.
Rusinaite.
Yeah, the thing is that the whole English language, and then most of
Very
them,
distorted.
it's distorted. All the sounds and all the letters should sound different. As you say A, but it should be A. You say B, it should be B. You say E, it should be A. And then that changes the whole language, because I firmly believe that English is a slave language made up from Greek, Latin, and all of that to trick people not only into court system and all of that, but just basically these Jewish people or whatever, they speak Phoenician language. They is basically what I learned from what is his name? Robbins, the motivational speaker.
Robbie.
No.
Celebrated truth.
No. He was just basically a motivational speaker. But basically, what I learned from him, if you don't use certain words or you change them, you would have a different sort of life. Let's just say if you, I'm just jumping around again. Anyway, yeah. So the English language is not
very distorted.
Yeah, it's distorted.
Almost like a slave language. Like, I am very interested in languages. I speak many languages, and I do see a very big difference between English and most other languages in the way you see it written one way and it's pronounced completely another way. In one case you pronounce it this way, in another case you pronounce it that way, and it's just so overcomplicated, and it's never as you see it. It's pronounced always something different. That's why you have all the spelling thing, which is another very complicated thing. Why do you need that?
It's called spelling for a reason.
Because it's magic. It's sorcery.
Yeah, and like in Buddhism, I heard when they meditate, they make these, root sounds, I guess. Oh, you, oh, and all of these. So these are, like Aether said, you have to pronounce it but no, in English it's always something different, that you never pronounce it the same way.
And it's on purpose made that different words in different environments have different meanings. So that's another thing, another sort of trick, because if you get into trouble with law, you go to solicitor or attorney who turns on you, because they're all in the same business, just to make money out of you. So it's really...
I think you're really on the right lines here, because you've got the legalese as well in the UK, where it's a completely different language. And it always sort of stretches back to sort of biblical reference, where the languages were confused. And even tonight, I'm now using a Russian search engine. I can't remember what it's called. It begins with Y, Yadir or something like that, as opposed to Google, which I've completely uninstalled from everything on my system. But it's all about language, and language is such a barrier between us all. There's so much that I've downloaded Chinese search engines and Russian search engines and this sort of thing, just because I'll put a search into Google or Bing or Yahoo, or well, maybe not Yahoo, but Bing and another one, and censorship is just unbelievable. Are you finding this? Well, you're in the UK, so you're obviously finding this as well, but it shows a strange age of the time when I have to rely on a Russian search engine to get some decent news. It's the only one that will come up with my blog anyway.
It's all about money now. When you Google something, the first things come out are the paid ones so you can pay for something to come up first. It's ridiculous. It's like, if you go to a library, nobody will, you're looking for a book on some topic, it won't be like, oh, you have to see this book first because somebody paid for you to see it first. And here it's like money rules everything, even Google, even the search engines, everything. It's horrible.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's a sad state of affairs, really.
And the spying thing, that's the whole Google is just for advertising, for bringing ads to you. But all this power they have, that I heard that Lecrow says that so long ago he knows for a fact that ads were so advanced, that the technology, the information they gather to the point where they knew so many years ago exactly when you will die or how, because that's, we give all this information for free, to the point where now, we had a few interesting experiences where on one time we were looking at TVs, even though we have one here, but we don't actually watch it as TV. We never used it as TV. We use it as Nintendo to play Just Dance. So we were looking for a TV specifically for that reason. And soon enough, an hour after that, Aether receives a random call advertising TVs. And we're like, no, thank you. We don't watch TV. We don't need TV. But, we need it for this reason. But they
half an hour later, yeah, and talking about the data mining, right?
Yeah, something about not a TV specifically, but something you need to have a TV to buy that thing, whatever they were offering, I think. And then,
and I said, I don't watch TV. And he goes, how do you come? How come you don't watch TV? I said, because it's all bullshit. He's what do you mean all bullshit? I mean, that's what I mean, all bullshit.
But that was so creepy that back then, a few years ago when this happened, it was so creepy to us that, what happened, I was just looking. And now it's happening all over the place. And now there's a second level of creepiness. Today, I had a bath. When I have a bath, I watch a soap opera, so I bring my laptop with me. I know that they might be spying, so I put a towel on the camera just in case. And, I was, doing my feminine things, doing my shaving. And then after that, I come back to my laptop. I put on turn the YouTube on, and on the first page, on the recommended things, for a miraculous reason, a video comes up that says shaving tips for female, for women, and I was just so shocked, like, how? I know when you buy something with a credit card, it's all electronically stored in there. When you look up something on Google, but how in the world can they know what I was doing in my bath with camera blocked and everything? How are they listening to me and trying to hear what sound is that? Is that a shaving sound? Let's put a video about shaving. For something to come up on your recommended videos, you would have to be interested in that and at least clicked on something like that once. And I have never ever looked at any related videos. So to me, a lot of people may say it's a coincidence, but it's a very, very creepy coincidence.
It's all have to do with the data mining. These computer algorithms, they predict quite precisely what most likely you're going to be doing, and they just shove this stuff to you. At least that's how I think.
No, I totally agree. I come in and had dog pet adverts on the screen when I've never ever searched dog pet adverts or anything along those lines, but the dog was barking 2 minutes beforehand, and it's just unbelievable. Yeah, I don't think anyone realizes what sort of consent we've given to the access into our personal lives that these machines and technology around us is given. Yeah, Ether.
Sorry, John, I have to disagree with you because I don't think we've been asked for a consent. I think they're just doing it anyway.
I'm not sure whether I think consent is explicit, isn't it? And it's also a case of silence is consent in this day and age.
If they printed it in the newspaper in this local area and you didn't read it in the legals, they've informed you.
Yeah,
it's just your responsibility to go and read it.
Planning permission, that sort of thing.
It's not just that. If you're informed and there is no rebuttal by definition means an admission or an acceptance. If there's no rebuttal, so if you don't stand up and against it, then there's an assumption of acceptance. So
and this is a
all
fundamental.
of the, whether it's listening in, whatever.
It's a fundamental, isn't it, Adam? Is that this is something that's changed over the years? Is that our silence is now considered consent? So they say we're going to kill it.
Well, no,
and if you
it's where
didn't
get
hear
back
it,
to-
or
Sorry.
didn't complain, or didn't say anything, then they're like, well, you know, we told you. You didn't say anything about it, so it's okay. Sorry, Adam.
There is a differentiation, and it's as Ether was alluding to. It's the difference between maritime and common law, or common law and UCC code. You know, the legal system, and I don't think that same assumption applies in common law as it does within the system we all operate under, as opposed to what we should operate under, but what we choose not to opt out of, I suppose, is the point there.
And going back to what we were saying about the adverts and all the information they are gathering about us, and how a lot of people probably don't care and don't understand the significance of it. Me and Aether, we were watching this show called Black Mirror, where it showed about the future and the technology, and a lot of it is quite negative. And there was one episode about, you know, what this gathered information about you, what, you know, you are spied on without your direct consent, what can it bring to your life, how it can destroy your life. So this episode was about a boy who was watching some child pornography. So he was already a boy, but he was watching about children who were even younger than him, and, you know, masturbating. And of course, he was in front of a computer, so his camera captured everything. And soon after he was finished, he was sent this video of him doing it.
Basically,
and said,
someone started blackmailing
yeah,
him.
and he was blackmailed him. He was blackmailed, so they convinced him to do even more horrible things, along with a ton of other people being involved. So he would get a message, you have to go there and give another man a package, and that man would be exactly the same way blackmailed about something else. And eventually they would just, after you have done so many horrible things, robbed the bank, whatever, killed someone, so you would think that you would get away with it and they would leave you alone, but at the end they would still release all this information to all your family members. So on top of that, you are already going to jail, the police are after you, everybody knows your location, and that's it, your life is ruined just because, you know, your camera was filming what you were doing and somebody sent the information to everyone, you know.
So the point is, cover your camera, eh?
No, it's not working because I was covering my camera, and, you know, it's worse than that.
No,
Now cover your microphones.
For me, if you wanted the ads, there's another episode about, what is it called? I was just looking at it. 15 Million Merits. It's about singing competition and stuff. And that's where the ads come into. You have to pay credits to skip the commercials. Otherwise, you have to go through them. So luckily, for now, we have ad blocker, which is quite working for now.
Most of the time. Because they already are paid to not block certain adverts as well. So
what was crazy was that episode where all the people had their little rating on their phone, their social rating and stuff, and now that's actually going on in China. You cannot get on certain airlines if your social rating isn't appropriate.
Yeah, and then you know, somebody press few buttons and then you go from 0 to hero.
That's it. Thumbs down or thumbs up or whatever it takes.
Yeah, and that's why I used to think it's 50-50, but now I'm leaning more towards the trap thing about cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, because the main worry for me when I started researching it, that the whole algorithm is based on SHA-256 bit encoding, and it's being created by NSA. So who does not say that they did not leave any back door or something somewhere and, manipulate that? And yeah.
I think we, at least I did, underestimate how quickly the technology is taking over and evolving. Because I remember there was one time that I had this idea about implants, that people will all be implanted, everything will be stored on that implant, and that's the end goal, and people will like it, and you can do all these cool things with that implant, open the door, whatever. And the first time I had this, I thought, no way, people will never ever accept this. This is horrible. People will feel like, why are you doing this to me? This is, my personal life. You can switch off this implant and, pretty much my life is ended. And I thought, this is never going to happen. People will never accept it. This is just way too far, too crazy. And a couple years after, I hear that there are already implants for pets, and everybody's implanting their pets to know if they get lost, where to find them. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's a small step, to introduce, to make people like, okay,
did that
pets,
happen?
the children,
Not just that, people are taking implants these days to get into London clubs, to unlock their cars, to open their houses. They are literally taking implants quite happily. Yeah.
Well, transhumanism, and nobody actually sees where it's leading. As ancient Japanese saying says, if we do not change the direction, we might end up where we're going.
And the strangest thing is that all the information is there for us. I somehow Googled something about implants, and a ton of videos came up from people in military, secretly or whatever, saying that this is happening. Everybody's being implanted in the military. They are almost like testing us or something. It's all top secret, and I'm gonna be dead soon probably, but I just want to do the right thing or something. There are like ton and ton of videos of people in military trying to get this knowledge out to as best as they can. So it's all out there for us to listen to and to educate ourselves.
It's
And
not
yet
as if they.
And the whole plan is the insidiousness of the marketing and the way they're going to hook certain people with their whatever their thing is. Like you said, John, the clubs. If you're into that scene, they'll get you with that. If you're into this whole pokey game, I'm sure sometime they'll have a pokey implant to catch those. I remember that one, I just looked it up and threw it in the chat about.
You muted your mic.
Oops, I was trying to send the picture. You can put this, you can get an implant right now that you can have put into your chest that slowly becomes part of your sense of awareness, that you are now always aware of where magnetic north is. And this was something I saw early on in our flat earth research, and we were all doing these compass experiments and trying to figure out the sun direction. And I'm like, well, that would be awesome to have an implant that I would always know where magnetic north. That insidious type of just something that will catch your interest. I would never do it, but that's what I'm saying. That level of, it's going to turn me into a superhero, or it's going to make me be able to ride this hoverboard and only I can ride it with my implant, or they'll have something.
The level of that wall, I think, is probably interesting, because I think it must be 10 years ago. I remember seeing one of the first experiments with implants where a guy was connected up and used his finger to control a glove on the other side of the world and then receive feedback in it. And if you think that was, as I'm guesstimating there, 10 years ago, where must it be now if you are prepared to be wired up? It must be very interesting as to what. And then the whole
transhumanism push that you mentioned, Aether, is really part of kind of circling back around to those gray people. I think part of that whole group is some of these people a little bit further down the timeline have accepted this transhumanism, have lost their soul completely into this, whatever this thing they're trying to create is. And because time is not immutable and time is not written in stone, that's coming back through to us. That's what I think, but that's just my craziness. I dig into this shit way too much.
Nah, I
So
agree.
do we.
I agree, but I have to disagree about the time. There is no time.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's all happening at once. So when that happens, then it's going to happen back here now, I guess,
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and movies are really contributing to this transhumanism agenda. It really helps us to plant the seeds. So there was one movie trailer that, was an ad. So I was listening to something like, I don't know, Crow, whatever, what I'm interested in. And this ad came up about a new movie with the futuristic scenario of, people had to go on a spaceship and be in this sleep state until after who knows how many 100 years they reach some kind of other planet. Well, they will live again because their Earth is not livable anymore. And just not seeing it, but just listening to it, it just completely blew my mind the way they phrased everything. They said, "Oh no, we are awake. We have to go back to sleep. How do we go back to sleep?" So I thought that was just mind blowing there. So if you saw the video itself, it would all make sense in this film context.
I want to find that soundbite. That's awesome.
I just want to taste the steak again.
Right. It's funny because
waking up is bad. You have to go to sleep.
I used to be a really big fan of Lost in Space, the black and white series and everything. And my 10-year-old son now is watching Lost in Space, and it's the best thing he's ever watched.
Are you talking the
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. Will. Yeah, it's just amazing how all this sort of comes around. But on that note, I'm going to have to bail out. So it's been amazing talking to you.
4
really good.
Hours. That's insane.
It is insane.
Jesus, it's 2:00.
You guys are amazing people to have on, because I had no clue we were approaching 4 hours. I thought we might be at 2.5. Excuse me. You have to come back, because otherwise we'll be here till midnight.
Well, the funny thing is that I can't force him to do something like this with just two of us, discuss the movies and the deeper meanings, or just pick anything. I can't force him, but Adam calls and says, "Come in and talk to us," and see, it's 4 hours.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, I have few movies sort of deconstructed, so I can show you quite.
See, that's a whole new Friday, man. There we go. We'll just have to have a continue 2.0.
Yep.
I think we have two shows, one for each of you, because both of you guys are amazing. And before we do go, I just want to say, I've said to the guys, it's for us older men, and there's some of our viewers that have, and we've discussed it on shows, how flat Earth is a way of breaking up the existing family paradigm you have, and it's heartening to see that the younger generation are together and already flat Earth. As you started this thing out, it's an accepted fact. It's not, and it's part of your journey moving forwards, not actually where a lot of us are, and a lot of other people. It's a beginning, and like I say, it's been a pleasure chatting with you tonight, guys, and I hope it won't be the last time.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us. Yeah, we had
Thank
a
you
great
so
time.
much for having us. It's been really amazing 4 hours.
Or it's 2 hours 18 minutes.
Well, we had 2 hours ahead of you, but even still,
Nice.
it's the past 2 hours with you guys. So thank you, Laura. Thank you, Aether. I'm trying to get all the pronunciations in there. I noticed Laura
I'm going to have all those letters before it's over.
Yep.
Oh, just to end the note. I really, really recommend you this Pearl. I know, Adam, you don't like movies, but you have to see this one.
Oh yeah, that's a very good one.
Let me put a bit of window on for you.
That's an older movie, huh?
Sure.
Yeah, 1995.
Yeah,
Right,
But
yeah,
just see it.
I love that. I remember that.
What is it? What
I
is
did-
it for everybody? Because I can't.
It's called Harrison Bergeron. It's got Sean Austin and Christopher Plummer in it.
It's got The Hobbit.
Yeah,
was recommended
you
by
got a
George
full
Mackey.
screen now.
You know who is this guy, yeah?
Yeah.
That's that illegitimate ginger kid from down south.
Yeah. What a nice gesture he's showing. And the look on his face is like, and do you guys see it? You guys see it?
Okay.
Yeah, cool.
That's the. You know what I'm doing. Look.
Yeah. So.
Duper's Delight, I believe, was James's phrase.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. So, I guess we wrap it for tonight.
I think so. I think it'd be.
I guess, unfortunately, I think we're all.
Well,
Waiting.
let's have a few hours break and let's carry on. Yeah.
24/7.
I've got about 52 ahead of me. Hour break, that is. I'll be doing this again on Tuesday. Which reminds me, you can join Walt and I on Truth Frequency Radio and TFRlive.com, iHeartRadio.com, and the TuneIn Radio apps for the Ironworks every Tuesday and Friday at 10 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time or
Break clear of
4
the fear.
a.m. Central. That's it. Break clear of the fear. Let's see what else we got going on. We got Billy Ray Valentine, who I saw in chat
It was
earlier.
in chat earlier. Shout out. I didn't have a chance. We were really wrapped up in this awesome conversation. So, yeah, I saw him pop in.
Yeah, I want to shout out to Billy Ray. I said hello quickly in chat to him earlier. And has he got his toothpaste yet, Josh?
Nope.
Is
I've
that
got
on
both
its way?
packages here. It's not quite on its way yet. I've still got both packages here, but I will get it in the mail probably next week.
Wait till my hard drive gets here and then send that together.
Yeah, I'll get yours later.
You rock, brother.
It's not going to fit. That was something else I was concerned about. Those t-shirts, you see. But
Well,
yeah,
few
it's,
people-
repackage. We'll have to send a shed load more stuff over hopefully soon, mate.
I think so. I'm going to start giving out free samples to some of my
How
friends.
you two guys got on with your toothpaste?
We
Thank
still
you,
have
Adam.
it. We still have it.
Yeah, we have it. We've been using a similar type, and some of those we have been using in the past. One of them is Lithuanian, so that's what I found interesting, because I even remember buying it in Lithuania when I was on this. That's it. I'm changing my toothpaste. My parents don't care. My family doesn't care. I bought an expensive toothpaste on my own separately from my family, and I used it separately just to have
See?
no fluoride in it. And that's one of those that you had in the Flat Earth conference. Ecodenta.
This is great. See, you could tell you were fluoride free well before then. I fully expected a good chunk of the convention to be fluoride free already, to be fair. So
That's right. It helps with the lucidity.
I actually heard about fluoride from the spiritual side of things I research and am interested about. There was one boy who supposedly remembers his past lives and all these spiritual things, and he was in Romania, and he said something that unfortunately he's agile, he cannot make any decisions on a larger scale, so his parents were buying the fluoridated toothpaste, and he would complain that I feel all my chakras closing down when I use this toothpaste, and of course his parents wouldn't believe him and still kept buying the same toothpaste. But I just thought this fact was very interesting, that you hear about things like fluoride from all kinds of different sources of information about all kinds of different topics. So for me, that's when I feel like I'm getting closer to the truth, when it kind of like Flat Earth is about everything and connects everything, and together it all makes sense. It's not just scattered pieces of information that don't have any proper relationship, but with Flat Earth and a lot of the things in it, you see that big picture. You can put the pieces together and it blows your mind.
Well said. Definitely blows my mind. Too bad for Rob, and he's kind of lost that fire for it. But I don't know. I think it's one of those things that sometimes takes effort. I think if he delves back in just a little bit, he'll be able to find something that's going to catch his attention, something that's going to re-spark his passion.
But from the sound of his voice, I heard that he's a bit older, man. Is he?
He's a lot older than me. A lot older.
Maybe he got what I get after so many years and everything of trying. You just get bored of it when you go outside and you see 60-year-old men acting like 10-year-old children, and you have to teach them how to live their lives. It just gets boring. How long you can keep up with it? You know, it's really. I'm 30 years old, and
he did a lot of work.
People like acting like children. What the F?
Yeah.
When he was at work, he dealt with that a lot, with people at work giving him a hard time about it and him trying to talk to him about it. So that wears you down quick too. The constant just battle.
Yep. Well, I guess we ought to go ahead and wrap it up.
Okay, guys. Have a good night. If it's nice.
Thank you so much. Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Hopefully we'll see you again soon, yeah?
Oh, I'm sure.
God bless. Love you guys. Thanks
Definitely.
so much.
You guys are now part of the family. You didn't hear? That's part of this.
Don't say family. Family's a bad word.
Yeah.
Family.
Familus.
F-E-M-I-L.
Family.
Yeah.
F-E-M. Family.
You're
Family.
part of the realm. Let's
There you
leave it at that.
But your name, Iron Realm Media, why not gold? Because, you know, if you progress, iron is...
Maybe we'll change later.
No,
Because the elemental symbol for iron is what?
Don't know.
It's F-E.
A what?
F-E.
Flat
That
Earth.
is so clever.
Okay. Yeah, now it makes sense.
Now it didn't make sense to me, but now it does.
That's it. That's why we've incorporated so much iron into our theme. Iron Works over on Truth Frequency Radio, Iron Realm Media here, and probably a few more iron things.
I knew from all my ghost hunting days that iron is a very spiritual element. It's very protective. So
it's also an exceptionally unusual element. It
very much is.
It has two valency states, whereas most elements like sodium have got a +1 charge, and calcium's got a +2. Iron can have a +2 or a +3 charge. So it's quite an unusual, special element in of itself, and we all know along also that it's links particularly with magnetism. So it's a particularly apt element of metal if we were going to pick one. And I wasn't lucky enough to choose. The guys were ahead of me.
Like King Solomon said, as iron sharpens iron, so one friend sharpens another. And with that, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it. John,
yeah, because I don't think it's going to end anyway.
No, it never will. This is what we do every week. Well, it's time to go. 40 minutes later. Okay, it's time to go.
90 minutes.
Okay, guys, good night.
Good night, Abe. Good night, Laura.
See you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Thank y'all. Love y'all so much. Thank y'all.
Yep. Thank you, Walter. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you for a good week.
Yes. Awesome week all the way through. Zach, thank you. I saw you in chat, brother. Thank you for Tuesday.
Check out our Tuesday show on Truth Frequency. You probably can't. You'll have to go over there and subscribe. Go over there and subscribe to Truth Frequency Radio and check out our show on Tuesday, where we had Zachary Zabala, otherwise known as Good Times for All, if you prefer.
I'm gonna have to just interject there and delay our exit once again. Yeah, of
course.
I've not checked back with the chat with Zach, right? But right? I tried to get the day off, didn't I?
I remember, sir.
To come in when he was on TFR, and I was absolutely really gutted. So shout out to Zach now, mate. I've put it in the chat, but can we get you on the show? Because like, not just the Spyros, but you're our top bloke. You're an inspiration, and I'd love to
So many ways.
ramble on well past the 3 hours like we've done tonight with you.
Yeah, we'll have to all bring lunches for that, bagged lunches for that show. It's going to be an awesome long one.
Yeah, let's go ahead and try to pencil that in sometime soon. That'll be a really good one.
Sorry, Josh. Carry on, mate.
Oh shit, I don't know. Where was I?
All good.
We're saying good night again.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, before we go, since we're talking iron, I had this pulled up, and since I'm now being able to play stuff on my phone, I just thought this would be
Did
pretty.
it work? It worked?
Well, I've got it hooked up into my mixer, so.
I forgot to bring that cable. I'm going to bring it in and mess around with it. Should have done that. That's because I wanted to play Silent Lucidity as well. We'll probably get banned in all the countries again if we do.
And it looks like maybe now it's not gonna. Naturally. Ooh, that doesn't sound good.
That sounds like a short and a chord, my friend.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, never mind. Forget that.
There's nothing like a good anticlimax, is there?
You know what? Leave it to
Should we
Josh.
go to Gravity?
Josh will work out a climax. Don't you worry about Josh.
Dude, on that note.
It's still early for you guys over there.
Yeah. I mean, relatively, I suppose.
Relatively.
Have you got a good tune to play us out, Josh?
I thought I did. I guess maybe not. Jeez, I got so much music on my phone. It's a little bit ridiculous, considering how little I actually listen to. All right, well, no.
Well, if you can't do it, I've got Gravity, and at worst, Walt's got the guitar.
That's really what we need is Walter on the guitar.
Can you play us out, Walt?
Actually, I believe it's cased up in the other part of the house, but I could dig it up.
Oh, don't fret yourself. We'll be all right. Let's.
It's not hanging over there in the corner. Normally, I took it to Lafayette with me on my last weekend there when we stayed all weekend, and just haven't pulled it back out.
I think I have this. Here we go.
Doctors will tell you that these conditions are often caused by a deficiency of iron. The iron you need to build healthy blood, to keep your body function properly, and to keep you physically fit and mentally alert. Ironized yeast tablets provide you with a simple and effective way to get the daily iron your body requires. Ironized yeast is a concentrated iron tonic combined with high-potency brewer's yeast, one of the natural sources of vitamin B1. And every daily dose of ironized
Well, I'm
yeast...
going to say good night.
Your
I'll
daily
get the iron tips. God bless everyone.
form your
Cheers.
body use and put to work. Of course,
We'll see you, Adam.
power and
Take
weakness
care of
can come
yourself.
from other causes, so see your doctor regularly. But medical studies show that 2 out of 3 women, particularly those between 15 and 50, and many, many men, lack sufficient iron. So if you're not getting the iron your body needs, if you feel weak, run down, and are easily upset, get new Pep, vigor and color for only a few pennies a day. Start taking...
All right, I've got a song up, I guess, and try to break my computer if you're ready.
Yeah, do it. I don't think you shared your sound.